How's it going, everyone? So in this video, we're continuing our HTB Academy Module, Intro to Network Traffic Analysis. And we're going to do the first set of questions in the TcpDump section. So we're going to tackle TcpDump Fundamentals. So the good news is that you don't have to have a VM spin up or anything, but you do have to download a file that they provide, and you have to analyze it and provide the answers. So with that said, let's just jump right in. So the first question says, utilizing the output shown in question 1, who is the server in this communication? And they want the IP address entered. So go ahead and download the zip file, which has the image. And once you have the image, you'll see something like this. So we need to find the server in this communication. So in this output, you're going to see some flags, right? You have S dot, just a dot, you have P dot. So, what does it all mean? Well, if you remember from the previous tutorials, in a client-server communication, the client sends a SYN packet, the server sends a SYN-ACK packet, and then at last, the client sends an ACK packet. So you'll notice, or you'll see what the server is when the client first sends the SYN packet. So in our case, you can see here that the 192 client is sending a SYN packet to 174. And how do you know this is, how do you know what the flags mean? Well, I do have a link for you guys. And this kind of gives you a nice little table. It shows you what the flags are. So S stands for SYN, F is for fin, P is for push, R is in reset, and period is ACK. And I'm going to send this link in the video or in the video description. This other link I have, this just kind of shows you the three-way handshake process. So you have the SYN, SYN-ACK, and the ACK. And you can see the client sends the ACK and the client sends the SYN there. So with all that being said, if you go back, now this is kind of easier to read. So the first flag, S, well, if you remember, stands for SYN. So again, the client is sending a SYN packet to the server. So we know that the server is 174. And then kind of digging deeper if you wanted to. So the dot is ACK and the S is SYN. So if you go back, that next line is S dot. Well, SYN ACK. And that is sent by the server, 174. So there's multiple ways you can get the answer, but in the end, the answer is the 174 IP address. So let's go back there, enter that in. And then the next question says, were absolute or relative sequence numbers used during the capture? So it wants us to look at the capture again. And you're going to see a ton of numbers, right? You're going to see all these big numbers up top, and then all these kind of smaller numbers. And you can see that these smaller numbers kind of increment. So you'll see it's like 1449, 2897, and then from 2897 to 4345, and then 4345 to 5793, and so on and so forth. So that is going to be relative. The documentation provides a little bit. So you can see here in the example output that they have, in the red section, they have the numbers kind of like we were looking for. So you can see sequence, number, colon, and then another number. And you can see that these numbers are relatively low numbers, as you can see what they say here. So the red section, and it says, this section shows a sequence and acknowledgement numbers used to track the TCP segment. Our example is utilizing low numbers to assume that relative sequence and ACK numbers are being displayed. So you can see up here, very high numbers, 238, 761, 3953. And then you have all these low numbers in the communication between the client and the server. So the answer is going to be relative. So that's going to be the answer down there. And then the third question, if I wish to start a capture without hostname resolution, verbose output, showing contents in ASCII2 and hex, and grab the first 100 packets, what are the switches used? And it says, please answer in the order the switches are asked for in the question. Okay, so we got to break it down. So it wants us to start a capture without hostname resolution. All right, so what's nice is that they have a cheat sheet provided. So go ahead and click on the cheat sheet. And it doesn't want hostname resolution. Well, we have here N. It says do not resolve host names. Cool. So we know it's going to be -N. Now the second one, verbose output. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on the cheat sheet again. And if we go and look for verbose, you'll see it says increase the verbosity or verbosity of output shown and saved. Okay, so that's V. Okay. And again, it wants it in the order, right? So hostname resolution first, and then verbose second, and so on and so forth. Now it wants to show contents in ASCII 2 and hex. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our cheat sheet. ASCII 2 and hex. So let's see. Oh, hey, look at that. So capital X shows the contents of the packets in hex and ASCII 2. All right, and then the last one, and grab the first 100 packets. So we'll go back to the cheat sheet, scroll down, and grab a specific number of packets, then quit the program. Okay, so it counts, so there's C. Now again, so once in the order, so it's going to be -N, V, capital X, C, and then space 100 because it's specifying 100 packets. So after the C, you put 100. The 100 is referencing the last switch, which is C. And again, you don't want to separate -N, -V, -X. You want to combine it for a more efficient answer. All right, so the next question, it says, given the capture file at this location, what TcpDump command will enable you to read from the capture and show the output contents in hex and ASCII? Please use best practices when using switches. And that's kind of up here is best practice to be more efficient when running Linux commands in TcpDump. So that's why you combine it up there. But in our question, this kind of tricked me a little bit because I was just using the switches and TcpDump. So I submitted several answers, but the full answer is kind of in the question. It says, what TcpDump command will enable you to read from the file? So you have to give the whole command, right? So sudo TcpDump. Now, what does it want? Well, it wants us to read from this location. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, if we go to the cheat sheet and we go down a little bit, it says read from a file. Okay, awesome. So R and then the name of the file. Well, in our case, the name of the file is capture.pcap, but we want the whole location of the file. And then it says, and show the output contents in hex and ASCII. And if we remember from our previous question, I think it was capital X, but let's double check. Yep, okay. So it's capital X. So it can be confusing, right? Because you might be tempted to do -R and then X. But remember, when using these filters, the last switch is going to be what the next line's referring to. So this is the pcap file you want to read. So the R switch should be the last one in the filters that you list here. Because if you did R-X and then the file, well, it's going to read from a file, but -X is the last one before you put this. So in other words, make sure that this, whatever output is on the right-hand side, is referencing the very last filter on the left-hand side. So R is to read a capture file, and you have to specify a location. So the location better be the next line you enter in. So I hope that kind of makes sense. You don't want -x after R. You want the -R to be after the X so that it reads from here and then it applies the X filter after, which is capturing and showing the output contents in hex and ASCII too. Alrighty, next question. What TcpDump switch will increase the verbosity of our output? And it says include the hyphen with the proper switch. So if you go back to our cheat sheet, I think we actually did that in our other question. So increase the verbosity or verbosity. So V is the answer. Make sure you push dash. And then what built-in terminal help reference can tell us more about TcpDump? So the answer is man, and you can actually find that, I think up here, tc.man page. So it says, to see the complete list of switches, we can utilize the man pages. So if you do man TcpDump, you're going to get pretty much all the switches that you can use with TcpDump, which is very, very helpful. And that will help us tell us more about TcpDump. And then the last question, what TcpDump switch will let me write my output to a file? So that's going to be -W. So if I go back to my cheat sheet, if we scroll, I think over here, let's see. Yep, write from a file. So we have read as -R, but -W is write to a file. So the answer is -W. So that is all of the questions there, guys. I hope you found that video really helpful and useful. I know it's kind of a long one, but there was a lot here to analyze and to go through. If you had any questions, let me know. But if you did like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you guys later.